Hi, this is Carrie Hummingbird, and this is Soul Nectar show that talks about that connection to the deeper place within us, the more profound person that we are beyond this body, beyond this lifetime. And we talk about it in the only way that we know how, which is by telling stories, sharing stories of connection to that deeper knowing. And today I'm excited to have Christina Arabolis with us. She is with the Master Shift. She's the original founder of the Master Shift and the current board president and executive director. It was established in 2012, and the Master Shift continues to grow as a result of Christina's ability to connect like-minded individuals who are passionate about love and life and seek positive change. Ms. Arabolis received a bachelor's degree in political science from the State University of New York at Stony Brook and a master's degree in education from Adelphi University in New York. She is also a certified health coach, having received her training at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. She has hosted her own radio show about healthy and positive living, and she's been a guest on numerous radio shows and has appeared on television. She writes for the Huffington Post as well as other blog sites, and she's currently working toward a doctorate in spiritual studies. So, Christina.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Now, Christina has her puppy with her, so periodically we're going to hear from your doggy.
We may.
We may, because her doggy's like sensing everything going on in the room. So what we're going to do is ask you, and I warned you about this, I like to ask a question of a personal story of connection to essence, like when you kind of realized, wow, who I thought I was isn't who I am at all, and it's more like this, that story.
That story. Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of happened to me over a period of time. So fortunately, it wasn't, all at once, but it was a long process of awakening and discovering who I really am. We were born into this world, and we become conditioned by those around us, our parents or those who have the most influence over us. So their beliefs we kind of adopt to ourselves without even questioning them. If our parents are a certain religion, we just accept that and attend religion because we feel that that's who we are, not really realizing that, hey, we have a choice, but at a young age, this is what we are bombarded with. So that's kind of what happened with me, in that I was sort of covered up with other people's opinions and beliefs of who or what I should be. And then about, I would say about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little longer now, I sort of went through this transformative process that was like one revelation after the other. And it basically, because
I know.
Just showed me who I wasn't and who I was being, but who I really wasn't at the core of my being. And so one by one, I noticed in my life like this layering of, a shedding of all the layers of, of who I was. Just fixing my computer here. Who I was, and that was very a difficult process, because you start questioning everything that you've been told to believe, and you realize most of it you don't even believe. And so you start like shedding it, and it's like a period of just shedding until you're bare, in a way. And so that's what happened to me. And then I started, once I got rid of who I wasn't, I was like, oh, well, who am I? And that involved just about everything for me. I mean, I'm talking total, inward transformation, to the point where like I even got rid of my clothes. I mean, I'm talking major transformation. And then I started hearing things, I started really listening to my guidance. which at the time I didn't really listen to before. I didn't really pay attention to, you know. And I started listening to things, and I was like, "You want me to do what?" And so I just started following it, you know, and it's actually taken me on an adventure or a little journey, as you will, and it's, you know, it's totally transformed my life completely around. And I am not, I mean, everything about me is different. Everything. I mean, I am like a completely new person. And I mean, I don't live in the same place. Like I said, I mean, I'm not doing what I was doing before. Everything is different. But that was you know, a long process that I went through. And it feels good when you get to the other side.
Yes, it does.
It does. But you gotta go through it, you know.
So let me ask you a question, because this is something that happens for me, and I think it's so interesting. When you look at pictures of yourself from like 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, or I mean, do you even recognize that person?
No.
Like, who was that? Do you wonder? I mean,
she's gone.
She's gone, right? Like, she's a figment.
She's totally gone. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, I do. I look back, you know, many, many years ago at pictures of myself. And I see, you know, beyond not recognizing myself, you know, I see somebody who doesn't know who she is, you know, and somebody also who didn't grow emotionally, you know, somebody who was just kind of like in a stuck place, if you will, you know. So it's interesting to kind of look at where you were, you know, and kind of just scratch your head and be like, well, how did I get here? But, you know, I think part of loving yourself is loving who you were and loving the decisions you've made in the past. So you can't change anything you did. So you have to accept everything that you did.
Who is this woman?
Exactly.
You know, it's so interesting. I think I told you that my dad passed away in October.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
And what was so interesting about that was that I had so many different people from my life converging all into the same space for the memorial. And even around my dad's deathbed, so to speak, like my ex-husband is there because my dad was like a dad to him. And he's holding hands with, you know, my son and my mom and me and my new husband, and we're all like circling my dad and my brothers. It's just like, it was such an interesting experience to feel, I don't know, like somehow completely resolved about all of that at the same time noticing it.
Right.
That's the transformation process, though, you know, and I know that's a special thing, because I think a lot of people go to the end of their days like holding that. I know my grandmother went to the end of her days like holding a grudge against her husband, you know, like 30, 50 years after the divorce.
Wow. Well, I believe that an awakened person has a responsibility to leave a relationship in a loving way. Because the person, I don't know if the person's awake that you're leaving or not, but chances are usually that person is not, which is usually one of the reasons why two people can separate. And that person, his consciousness level is exactly where they are. So if you know you were back there too, because you attracted that person to begin with, and you've now gone forward in your path, you kind of don't have the right to turn around and get on his case or her case for where they are at. That's all they can do. They can't do any better than where they're at. So, you know, when you're awakened, you know that you can love them anyway for where they are. And that kind of helps to actually raise them up higher. Because if you have a vibration of anger towards that person, then that person can feel that. I don't care if you don't have to say a word. They can feel your vibration. They can feel if you're harboring anything against them. So when you can lift all of that and just leave the relationship because you know two people had to move on, and just love that person for who he was or where he is or whatever, then you're carrying really positive energy for yourself and for him forward. Yeah.
And it affects the DNA, because I know from the healing that I've learned how to do through the Four Winds Society that we're healing, you know, we are experiencing at the DNA level this energy, right? Whatever the energy is, emotional energy towards another person. If we're experiencing that at the DNA level, and if we have kids, for example, I had this realization like last week. It was so profound. With my children, I realized that my children's cells in their bodies have half of my DNA and half of their dad's DNA. And if we are warring together, if we're fighting, then the cells in my children's bodies are fighting.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, they obviously can pick up on the vibration of the two parents, you know, which is interesting for those parents who decide to stay together for the children's sake, but yet they're in different rooms or they're always mad at each other. Well, you know, that's not always the best case, because now the children can pick up on that vibration very easily. They don't have to say anything. They can just sense the distance between the two people.
They can feel it in their very body. They can feel it. They know. And a lot of times they take it on, because children love to rescue their parents, you know, as we did when we were little, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
You know, I love what you said about holding that higher intention as an awakened person, that you hold that higher intention and you hold that compassion for the place in the journey that your friend or loved one is, because that's really planetary. If you look at this, that's a planetary message, really. It's like, how can we hold people? How can we lift the whole planet while doing exactly what you just said? Talk more about that, because I know you're working on a planetary level with the Master Shift.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess it's about basically striving to align yourself with love. And that's really all what anybody's here to do, is just to align themselves with love. So the goal is that when we wake up in the morning, we want to be with every person we meet, or in every situation, we want to be loving with that person. And I mean it, not just like, you know, trying to be loving, but in your head, you're thinking, oh, what a jerk. You know? I mean, like, really, like, feel it, you know, and be that love to that person, no matter where that person is. You know, it's that unconditional kind of love. So if we strive to be loving towards the person, you know, or the situation on a daily basis, we then will attract that same thing back to us as, you know, we go off into the future. But it's not, you know, the universe likes to throw us tests. You know, says, oh yeah, you want to align with love? Okay, well, I'm going to send somebody to cut you off today. So now what are you going to do? You know? And
I get caught by the computer. The universe sends me the printer that won't work.
Exactly. So are you
I failed that test so many times.
Screaming? Or are you going to be really calm and say, okay, you know, maybe this isn't meant to be, or maybe you know, so it's like, we're programmed to respond how we grew up to respond. So if we are very reactionary, that's sort of like tying a shoe. So when something happens really fast like that, our pattern response is going to be to react, to respond, right? But if we can sort of become aware of our responses, we can start to change those tapes in our subconscious that have been there since we were children, to say, you know what, I'm not going to respond, or I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to collect myself first, and then I'm going to think about a response that a loving person would say, you know. And it's a daily challenge, you know, because you're kind of going through the motions and you don't know what's coming your way. And sometimes you get thrown a doozy, you know, like you got, you know, something just comes and it knocks you right down, you know, and you respond and you're like, but the difference is now, you know, because you're like, oh, I just failed that test.
I know. Well, you can.
I didn't stay on the, you know, and you kind of know, like, think of it like love is a train, and you're on the train, you know, you're doing really well, and then all of a sudden something comes and then you like swerve and you're off and the train's going and you're like, wait, I'm
Come back.
the train. So that's kind of what it feels like, to be, so it's like a daily thing. And I think the more people that first of all understand that this is something that we need to do, and that will actually help them in their future to have more of a bright future. The more people that understand it, the more people that do it, we can create like a mass consciousness of people trying to do just that, which will shift the entire planet. But it's everybody has to do their own individual work. I mean, the master shift is a shift inside each and every human being. Everybody's their own master. Nobody masters over anybody but your own self. So what we do is we just put out like inspirational messages and global meditations, and they're like different tools to inspire people to want to align themselves with love. That's basically what we're trying to do. But each one of us has to do our own work.
Absolutely. And I love that you say it's a moment by moment, because it is. It's a moment. And then once you like you get one of the challenges, then you'll get like a harder test. You get
yes.
And you'll get hit when you're down, just to see if you can maintain it when the chips are down. But what's interesting to me though is this aspect. I think a lot of people have this awareness, like they want to be from love, they want to come to things from love. But in order to do that, sometimes then people deny their feelings or suppress because they're kind of judging this emotion is bad versus that emotion. And what I like about some of the training that I've received is that it's really to lose the judgment, to lose the judgment over it, just name it. This is what it is. Like when my dad died, there's some anger, there was some anger in there. There was grief, there was anger. There was also like joy because I'm able to, actually interact with him in the spirit world. I can feel that, but there was anger. And so to name it and to say that this is my anger, I am angry that he left, or this is my feeling of, sadness because I'm sad that he left, and to let yourself have that experience, but to do it in a way that's not directing it. It's not like the game of hot potato, like, ooh, I have this ucky emotion that's like terrible, and now I'm going to hawk it off me because I don't want to hold it anymore. And, that's what blame is all about. It's like, here, you have the hot potato. It's yours.
Right. Well, you have to do the inner work.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, okay, I'm just going to be happy today. I'm just going to be loving today. I mean, without actually making peace with the parts of you that maybe were or are in conflict with others. I mean, you can't just ignore experiences that you've had. I mean, that's where you have to kind of go in and do the shadow work to really look at, well, this person hurt me, whether that's, a spouse or a parent or whatever, and come to peace with that. I mean, you have to do the work. And that kind of helps you to kind of move past the experience, because then you're not holding on to it anymore. Because if you hold on to an experience from the past, it doesn't matter how happy you are, it's still in your being, it's in your subconscious, and that still has a power to pull that same situation to you until you make peace with that situation. You have to make peace with that. And that requires, going within your own self. And if you're constantly being like bombarded with like cell phones and computers, and you have the TV on, and you got family running around, and you have no alone time whatsoever, it's very hard to kind of work past your own stuff, because you have to really go back in and make peace with every part of where you've been and every person that's kind of crossed your path, and it's a process.
Yeah, we did that process in my training. We did it through this Toltec practice called recapitulation, which essentially is just kind of going in your imagination back through time to places and moments, like letting your subconscious guide you to places where you lost some personal power, or where you've sort of given your energy over and you haven't reclaimed it, like you're still kind of like holding on, like
exactly
pissed off about that thing, and still, yeah, you're just like gnawing on the bone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the most powerful things that worked for me was, going back to like a childhood experience and seeing myself as that child. And then going over to that child in my mind, you know, as an adult and saying to that child, you know, you grew up okay. You know,
Yeah, it worked out all right.
let it go, you know, because, and doing that really, really changed a lot of the energy for me, because I was able to take that child, console that child through those experiences and grow that person up, because I says, you know what, you're fine. You did well. You went on, you got married, you have children, like you know, you don't need to hold on to that. That didn't manifest into anything, you know, and you really can make peace with your memories that way.
Yeah, and I love it because make peace with your memories. Yeah. The way that I would, okay, this is the idea. I talk to my clients and I try to explain this to them. I'm like, listen, people, there's no central database of all of life experiences stored someplace about your life. You're the only one who's holding that database. So if you don't like what's in the database, who's the administrator?
Mm-hmm.
You are. You can rewrite that story and nobody will know the difference, including you. Like if you change the story, like, and when I say change the story, I mean like shift how you perceive it, you know, like
Exactly.
you're shifting the perception of that event, which makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's what you want to work on, is shifting your perceptions when it comes to people, situations, you know, past, present, you know, just letting them go and making peace with them, so that, you know, from this point forward, you can just, you're creating every moment in the present, you know, so that way you're dropping the baggage of the past and then you're creating in the future. But then, you know, as you're moving forward, you know, something might come up that you might have thought you released it, but yet it's still triggering something. And you're like, oh, there's still something there.
I know, there's that process.
There's something I didn't let go. So like you're constantly being like triggered. And you know when you've gotten past it, when you have no reaction to an experience that you would have blown up over before. So you know you worked past that energy. You're like, oh, okay, it happened. All right.
I think
Yeah.
neutrality is the real healing. Like when you're neutral about it, you know you're done with it.
Exactly. When you just, yeah. But if it you know, something comes back and it's triggering you, then you know, okay, I thought I got it, but I didn't. I need to go back in for a little bit.
You got to go back in there.
What in there, what I'm still holding on to. Because you don't, you know, the thing is that you don't want to hold on to stuff. You know, you have to, you want to let it go, because you want to be able to create for the future. And you don't want to be keeping, you know, being pulled back into that old energy, because you're going to just be in this like a, you know, thing on a hamster on a wheel, just going in a circle, you're not getting anywhere, you know. But if you really want to move forward and you really want to do something, you gotta make peace with it. You know, you gotta work on yourself, you know thyself. You have to know yourself.
You know, I think that one of the more frustrating aspects of my particular journey was that idea of the hamster on the wheel,
Yeah.
reviewing it and reviewing it and reviewing it, because I did like 25 years of psychotherapy on a couch, like every week talking, and the therapist is like just taking notes, you know, and it's like I just go back the next week and the therapist takes notes. And like what what shifted, you know? So I think you're so right. You have, love is an action, you know, it's an action to love yourself. And we have to understand, I think, the power of our words in creating our lives, the power of the stories that we tell, in particular, how you introduce yourself, how you talk about your past, how you talk about your life journey. The story that you weave around all that is actually more powerful than I think most people realize.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are the creators of our own life. So, you know, if we really make a decision within ourselves, says, you know what, my future is going to be nothing like my past. We're going to do the work to let go, because who wants that? Like, we don't want to be on a couch for 25 years. I don't have time for that. I got too much work to do, so um, we gotta, we have to be able to move it forward. And the thing is too, is we attract who we are, so, I mean, the law of attraction, there's been a lot of issues with that, but we attract who we are. So, if we're working on something and we're like putting our all into it, we're going to attract people that are going to come along, that are going to want to work, and we'll do the work. If we're being lackadaisical and we're just like, yeah, I think I'll watch TV right now, all of a sudden we're attracting people that, are like, just like, hey, you want to go to the beach, so really, like, who we want to become, who we want to attract. We want to become who we feel is going to bring us to the place we want to go. So it's a constant working on the self. I mean, not just the spiritual end of it. For me as an executive director, I have I have a 600-page book I'm reading right now on nonprofits. I'm trying to learn, and because I know that I want to become more, and I really want to know what I'm doing. So I'm putting the time in to do the work, so that I can be that person and attract the people that I want to attract into my own story to create what I need to do. So it's like this constant, like, working on yourself, because that's really what's going to get you there, and there really is no other way, I mean,
yeah, you can try to avoid the journey, but it'll just come right back in your face, like the more you think there's several times I thought I escaped, like I thought there'd be an easy. I think that's why people like pharmaceuticals. It's like, oh, I want the easy button. I just want to push the button and be done with this. I don't want to deal with it. And I did that, with pills too on my journey. But I also did it with energy medicine. When I first found the energy medicine, I was like, great. I find something I don't like. I get a healing and it's gone. Poof. Like, I'm done with that. The problem was, and it worked for a while, like it was a good part of the first part of the journey, it worked, but then it started circling, like the next layer came around, like deeper, and then it was like, like right in my face. I'm like, oh.
Well, you know what? It'll work if you think it's going to work.
Yeah.
Just like of taking a pill, because pills really, I don't believe, have much of an effect at all. If that doctor says to you, oh, take this pill, it's going to put your headache away. Okay, good. I take the pill. It takes my headache away. Because
you believe it.
Because I believe it. It's like the placebo thing. So, it's all what we believe to be true. Because we are sending messages to ourselves to do whatever it is we are asking them to do. So, if we want to be healthy, we want to send healthy, loving thoughts to ourselves. If we buy into all the sickness, then we're sending that to ourselves, and then we wonder what's going on. Well, it's you're sending that to yourself, So, and it's very interesting. I think it was Louise Hay who did all that research into having a medical, a mental cause for every physical, symptom. So, like anything, if anything ever happens to me, if I get like a pain here or there, the first thing I do is I look it up and say, okay, why my thoughts are off, because I'm getting, something's up here, and it's very true. I mean, when I had this sciatic pain a couple of years ago, and I mean, I couldn't move for a while. And when I looked it up, it said lack of support. Well, that what was going on in my life. It was totally, and I knew it was true. So I knew I had to work through that in order to feel better,
Yes.
It is. It's very interesting how the whole thing works. But I mean, Bruce Lipton wrote Biology of Belief, and in that book he talks very specifically about how we are designed to work, and it's all what we think about ourselves and what we perceive about ourselves is what we create, not only out here but within our own being as well.
Yeah, because it's like a colony, it's a collective.
Yeah. Exactly.
All those cells and all those like bacteria, people don't like to think about that, but when you want, I love this, like Alberto Villoldo, the founder of the Four Winds, I'd be on this journey with him in Peru, and every time you go on one of those retreats or journeys, you eat like super healthy food, right? That's brain food.
Yeah.
because he's all like clean living. And I have to confess, I'm not always like clean living. I have kids in my house and I have excuses. I have excuses for not being totally. I go to the Alamo Draft House and watch a movie and have a beer, occasionally. So I'm not as clean living, but we'd be down there in retreat and I'd say, "Ooh, I really want that piece of chocolate cake." And he'd say, "Carrie, do you want that piece of chocolate cake? I think it's the bacteria in your gut that want that piece of chocolate cake."
Oh, that's good.
Okay, you're right. I know that's who wants it, so we have to start thinking about ourselves in this new way, that we're really who you think you are, why you think the thoughts are in your head or where you think it came from may not be what you think, it could be coming from your stomach, it could be coming from symbiotic organisms that like could live inside your body, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we also have like, we'll think back to comfort foods when we were little. So maybe we were upset at one point and then we would go reach for whatever that favorite food was. For me, it was pretzels. So I got lucky. It wasn't ice cream or potato chips, but it was pretzels. And then you can notice, like I can notice when I go to the grocery store and I pass the pretzel aisle, and if I feel like a little down for whatever reason, I will buy the pretzels.
I'm just visioning you in the store with the pretzels.
Exactly. And I'm like, because I'll eat the whole bag. I'll polish off that whole bag. I mean, it'll be gone just like that, but I only eat them if I feel a little down. And that's just from when I was younger, feeling comforted by them. So it's like, but if you can do that with foods, so if you make that conscious connection, like I'm aware, so I have to like say, okay, I'm not going to buy, because I'm just going to eat the whole bag and pass them right by.
But then get to the underlying cause, because you already know, like, okay, if I'm wanting that, there's probably something amiss in
right
here.
In my life right now. There's something. Yeah. I mean, I'm very aware, which has got its positives and its negatives, because I'm aware of everything. I can sense things. Like I can sense when like I'm around somebody, and I can sense even if their thoughts, I might not know exactly what they're thinking about me, but I get a sense, like I can actually feel it. And that's interesting too.
It sure is.
So aware of what other people are feeling about you when you're around them.
That's a really good point to bring up, actually, because people may not realize that.
No, they have no idea. They're not conscious.
That as you get conscious, people know when you're full of it. Like they can feel it.
They see right through people.
They see right through you. Like they know when you're telling a lie. They can feel it in their body, like the dissonance of that, what you're speaking and what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's actually like a disharmony.
Yes. You can feel the person being off.
It's off. Yeah.
It's so interesting because like my first, we'll jump into my brain. Well, I could tell this person's not having kind thoughts about me, and of course then I want to like not be kind back, but I say, no, back up, because like I said, the person doesn't say a word. The person could be smiling away, but you can just sense it.
You can tell. Yeah.
And then I'll say, okay, well, this is not the way a loving person would act, because I can transmute this person. So it might take a few times, but every time I'm around that person, I would make a conscious effort to be loving all the way through, to try to break it down. And that's just something that once you're a little bit aware of the energy of other people, you can kind of try to work through that,
You know what I do is, have you heard of the work of Paul Selig? Selig. He's a conscious channel of some teachings from, some ascended masters, and there's a lot of mantras involved in it, but they just sort of like help you establish connection with different frequencies. Mm-hmm. And so I love this one. So whenever you're around, like you go to the grocery store, I say, I am love through that person. I am love through everybody in this store. I am love through all I see before me. I am love through the parking lot. I am love through, like I just, walk around and I just say that. It was sometimes under my breath and you're actually like sending the frequency of love through like everybody there.
Mm-hmm.
And And it's just a gift, and they can and at some level, at the soul level, they know they're receiving that gift, even if they're still unconscious at the human level and they don't know. They
Right.
are receiving that remembrance from you, like perfume in the air.
Right. That's very good. I mean, I do something similar. Sometimes when I'm driving, and then you have the oncoming traffic, and I'm passing them, as the cars are passing me, I'll kind of look at the person in the car and go, and I love you. And then the next one will go, and I'll go, and the next one will go. And I do that sometimes when I'm driving.
I studied with recently with Jose Stevens of the Power Path, and you know what he does? He gifts everybody. He's like, I'm gifting you prosperity. I gift you
Oh, I
love.
like that. It's
I
nice.
gift you, like he gifts everybody everything. He just drives around gifting people things.
Really? Oh, I like that. That's cool.
It's
Yeah.
just fun, it's just a fun thing. Whatever like comes into him, like they might want, he just like, I gift you this, I gift you this experience.
Wow. Well, that's good because that's like he's blessing people, which is really nice too.
He is.
I mean, this is what, would be great if we all got to this place where, this is what people do, and you pass people, you just gift them or you bless them or whatever, because that's how we can shift the whole planet.
Absolutely. And, I think I shared with you earlier that that's one of the reasons why, I'm going out with the campaign of Skills Not Pills, because, we can't really, if we can't connect from our hearts with other people or with ourselves even,
Mm-hmm.
then we're not going to get to that place of realizing we're one human family, because we are one human tribe, we're one human family. When we get to that place, it's so easy to gift everybody. Like when you're awakened and you see that we're all one human family, it's so easy to walk around and say, I gift you this, I bless you, I love you, because you
Yeah,
know that that's you, that we're the same being having an
exactly.
experience.
Yeah. I mean, when I recently moved 3 hours from where I grew up, where my friends and family were. And I plopped myself in the middle of nowhere where I didn't know anybody. And everybody's like, what are you doing? You don't even know anybody. And I'm thinking, well, everybody's family. So it's like, this is a new family, and it actually turned out to have really good neighbors. Really. So it worked out for me. But that's if you just think about it that way, that wherever you go, that's a family. That's your family. Yeah, it's
That's your
kind
family.
of your family. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're conditioned to believe that our family is just what family we were born into, and so this is our family and that's your family, instead of understanding that we are all one family. So when we shift the consciousness into that, we're actually inviting many more people into our own lives when we do that, because it's how you perceive other people.
Absolutely. Well, so I know this work that you do is really like a stepping stone for so many people. And it's also a collaboration, among awakened souls to
Mhm.
continue raising the vibration. And I guess I wasn't aware of this. Maybe you know more data about it. I don't know. But the resonance of the earth is actually raised up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of people that I'm around and that call me frequently. Did you feel that energy upgrade? Um, so I get that a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think things aren't as dense as they used to be, which is why people are able to kind of see past the denseness of the dimension that we're in. So something is shifting. So we're actually able to see more. And I don't mean physically see, I mean, from our sense see, we can see deeper and like things that we couldn't see before. So something is definitely shifting, on the planet that's enabling us to be able to do this, because I mean, 100 years ago, we couldn't do that. And not certainly the amount of people. I mean, I'm in touch with people all over the world that are just like I am, just awakening. And in countries like Kuwait and like things you wouldn't think that, you'd find awakened people, like very awakened, just like you and I, but they're there, so something is going on where we're all just starting to see who we are, and we're starting to pull ourselves away from the what's going on the television. you know,
Yeah.
like, all of
Turn
that.
that off.
Like, oh my gosh. And, and that's another reason, like, it's all breaking down, so that's why we're seeing all this corruption coming out and all the things we couldn't see that before, but now we're starting to see, and it's not hidden. It's like all of a sudden everything is being revealed to us, and we can all see it now. All of a sudden we're like, oh wow, I can see this. I can see right through. Not only can I see right through, the people in front of me, but I can see right through that senator, or and
Yeah.
to be able, and they're trying to hide themselves, but they can't. It's kind of fascinating in a way.
I think it's amazing. Yeah. So, and the work you do is so pivotal for that, putting out those meditations because it does raise the vibration. Every time people do those meditations collectively, and every time people share the memes, even just sharing the memes from your Facebook page, even just doing that, that is going to help raise the vibration because we're sending, that's like a little nugget of positive energy that's just getting like distributed around the internet.
Right, right. So like
It's a real thing.
there and people feel good, and stuff, then the more it starts to shift, and then you could see it's working because you could see what's going on in the world. Things are starting to break down a little bit, people unsteady, and people saying, oh no, things are going in the other direction. Well, no, because we know from the butterfly that we have to go to a space of darkness, perhaps of chaos, before we can reach the other side, until we can fly. So we're starting to see that happening now, and we have to just trust the process because this is the way life is designed.
This is the way life is designed. It seems like it's going really awful and everything's falling apart and all the stuff you thought life was supposed to be for you is just like disintegrating before your very eyes, and you think, oh my goodness, how am I going to live the rest of my life? And then something magical happens and you realize that you didn't like any of that stuff anyway. You really didn't like that stuff. You wanted something, you didn't even know what you wanted. That was what I realized. I didn't even know what I wanted until I found myself again. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went, wow, all of this makes perfect sense. Like there was pieces of this all the way through my life.
Right.
It was like the fabric that wove through
Well, the universe was trying to awaken you probably your entire life.
my whole life. There it was a hard challenge.
Probably going, come on, Carrie, wake up. And you're like, no, let me sleep. I want to stay on this couch. Wake up. No, I don't want to. And then it kept going and going and going until it came to a head. And the universe is like, all right, get up.
I was extremely stubborn. Actually, okay, we're going to end this interview in a second, but I got to share this story. So some people, okay, for me, I'm stubborn, right? So my wake-up call was a real one. Like I had just moved out to Texas from California, and I was in a bad place. Anyway, my marriage, bleh, all the stuff was bad. And I moved out to Texas, and I thought, I'm going to explore my past lives because I'm going to distract even more from this life by exploring past lives. And I went to go find some hypnotists, and it didn't work. I didn't see anything. It was horrible. Now I see all kinds of stuff, but that's a different story. But I didn't see anything. I was very frustrated. So I went to the gym, and I was like riding on my recumbent bike, and I was very obsessive at the time. So I'm like, that person didn't do a good job. They suck. I'm going to find Oprah's website. And I'm going to find like the best hypnotist ever, and I'm going to hire them. And I'm going to totally have like a good experience because how am I going to do it? And I started like, my mind was just like, and all of a sudden like a loudspeaker inside my head, you have a life, live it.
Wow.
I was like, who is that?
Wow. Yeah.
And I stopped and I was like, what? That was like the first time the sacred touched me. And I went, whoa, backing off. Okay. I won't talk about it again. And I didn't. And then right after that, my life went to hell in a handbasket, pretty much.
Wow.
I just blew the whole thing up.
Right. That's usually what happens. Your life gets blown up. I like to think of it as like you have like a crystal ball, and it was your life, and you're like in this beautiful crystal ball, and the universe went, you. It's like connection to, and you're like, what did you do to my life? It's like pieces all over the place.
Everywhere.
Oh my God. Because if you're a child and your toy breaks, you're going to cry. So you're going to cry.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to my life? Like, why is it in a million pieces? And you don't understand it. When you're going through something, you don't understand it. It's not possible to understand it. You don't understand it until you get to the other side and you start, but it's a process to get there. And people think, oh, let's just become enlightened and I'm happy and all this. But no. It doesn't work like that.
You can't skip it.
No, you can't. You can't. You have to go through the process of awakening and discovering who you are and shedding all the things about yourself that is not in alignment with who you are, that changes the vibration of your energy around every single person you've ever known to that point. Now you're just trying to redefine relationships because you don't know what to do with these people because they're all off. You're like, and then you're mirroring them, which is then you just want to scream because now in every person you see yourself.
Yes.
And that's the biggest challenge. And that's how you can also tell from every future person you meet, you can see the mirror and you can see where your progress is and how well you're doing by each new person you meet. The old people, most people don't go up that much in a lifetime. Their vibration doesn't shift much. If you ever read Power versus Force,
yes.
He talks about people just budge a couple little, points, every their consciousness doesn't raise all that much per lifetime. Most people don't. But I think because things are thinning, people are seeing more and people are making like very big leaps
quantum
in one lifetime, which is not typical. It's not typical. And it seems to be happening everywhere at this time. And this, I think it was prophesied, I think we are going into a prophecy time where, and I personally think this is, we're all heading, this is going to happen to everybody, and it's going to be enough people that's going to shift everybody else. It's sort of like I don't know if you're familiar with the 100 monkey effect.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's sort of what's going to happen with this, if it hasn't happened already,
And we're shifting into, according to Jose Stevens, we're shifting into a mature soul planet, and that's what this is about. This the shift into a mature soul planet where we're really going to be exploring unconditional love.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for this powerful interview and so insightful and delightful. I just enjoyed the connection that we've had together, and this interview has been fabulous. Is there anything that you want to share with people just to have them help them to get closer to your mission and what you're doing?
Sure. We are having a global meditation coming up on December 12th, and that's a holiday-inspired coexist meditation. So it basically takes a couple of the religious traditions, their holidays, and kind of merges them into one meditation. So that'll be a lot of fun. But they can, anybody can get in touch with me through the website. I have my email on there, and anybody can just reach out if they want to become involved with the Master Shift. We consider ourselves a heart-based organization, and what that means is if you feel that in your heart you want to be a part of it, you are. Like, I'm not going to be checking your references. That's like old stuff. Like,
that's patriarchal.
Somebody's vibration, if they feel they really are passionate about what you do, then you can let them in. I'd rather have that than call 20 people. Did so-and-so, like, to me, that's just old energy. I don't know. But, because you can feel the person.
Oh, yeah. You feel, well, there's no more, you don't need to check it because you already know. You have your intuition. That's your guide. You feel
exactly. it. When you meet the person and you talk with the person, today, everything, apply for a job, you're online, you can't tell from a piece of paper who that person is and how passionate that person is and how that person is going to drive your mission forward. You have to meet. So I'm hoping that we'll go back to a place of connection, which I think is really powerful and necessary.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, and it's getting easier because the veil is thin. We can see. We can see you. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
It is. Oh, that's the benefit of doing this work too, is just like elevated energy, right? Just like
Mhm.
happiness, just for no reason except that it just is.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Well, so I always say goodbye to everybody by giving kisses. So you're welcome to join me if you want. I always spread kisses.
Okay.
So here they come.
That's very cute.
Love you guys, and we'll see you next time on Soul Nectar.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Love you. Bye.
You too. Bye.